Every Major League Baseball team enters the offseason believing they're one move away from becoming a contender. Front offices spend months studying advanced analytics, scouting reports, medical evaluations, and projections before making decisions worth hundreds of millions of dollars. On paper, every move makes sense. Every signing has a purpose. Every trade has a plan. But baseball has a way of exposing mistakes faster than almost any other sport. Sometimes it only takes a few months for reality to completely change the narrative. Today, we're looking at the MLB decisions that teams are already starting to regret. These are the contracts, trades, and roster moves that looked promising at the time, but have quickly become major concerns. Some organizations may still have time to recover. Others could be dealing with the consequences for years. Let's get into it. One of the biggest mistakes teams make is believing that past success automatically guarantees future production. A player can have an incredible season, earn a massive contract, and immediately struggle once expectations rise. Baseball is unpredictable. Age catches up with players. Injuries appear without warning. Small declines become major problems over the course of a 162-game season. That's exactly why several front offices are already facing difficult questions. Did they pay too much? Did they wait too long to make a move? Or did they simply bet on the wrong player? In many cases, the warning signs were already there. Fans noticed them. Analysts mentioned them. Even opposing executives questioned some of these decisions before the season began. But once an organization commits millions of dollars or trades away valuable prospects, there's no easy way to reverse course. That's what makes these decisions so fascinating. Some mistakes happen because teams become desperate to win immediately. Others happen because front offices fall in love with potential instead of production. And sometimes, organizations convince themselves that one player will solve every problem, only to realize baseball doesn't work that way. The toughest part is that these moves don't just affect one season. A bad contract can limit payroll flexibility for years. A failed trade can leave an organization without young talent. Losing the wrong player in free agency can create a hole that's impossible to fill. Every decision creates a ripple effect throughout the entire franchise. That's why teams spend years trying to avoid these situations. But no front office is perfect. Even the smartest executives make mistakes. And this season has already provided several examples. What's surprising isn't that these decisions failed. It's how quickly everything changed. Players who looked like franchise cornerstones suddenly aren't producing. Teams expected to compete are falling behind. Fan bases that celebrated these moves just months ago are now wondering what went wrong. The pressure only continues to build. Every poor performance increases the scrutiny. Every disappointing series raises more questions. Every missed opportunity reminds fans what their team gave up to make these moves happen. And the longer these struggles continue, the more difficult they become to fix. Some organizations will try to stay patient. They'll argue that it's still early and that talented players eventually return to form. Sometimes they're right. But baseball history tells us that's not always how these stories end. Many of the worst contracts in MLB history looked perfectly reasonable on the day they were signed. Many of the biggest trade disasters were celebrated when they happened. Nobody expects to make a mistake worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet every decade, multiple franchises do exactly that. The scary part is that several of the decisions we're watching today could still get much worse. If injuries continue, if production keeps declining, or if younger players fail to develop, these moves won't just be disappointing. They'll become defining moments that reshape entire organizations. That's why every game matters from this point forward. Every at-bat, every inning, every month adds another chapter to these stories. Some players will prove the critics wrong. Some front offices will eventually look brilliant, but others are already watching their biggest off-season decisions turn into major regrets. And by the end of this season, we may look back at these moves as the moments that changed the direction of entire franchises. The question now is simple. Which decision do you think will end up being remembered as the biggest mistake? Because if the early signs are any indication,